Hello and welcome. Today on ET Now, we are spotlighting a pivotal moment in India's tax evolution, 8 years of goods and services tax. Since 2017, GST has transformed the indirect tax landscape. Now, the latest GST survey done by Deloitte, called as Deloitte GST at 8 survey, gives us a glimpse of how corporate India perceives this journey. With over 960 senior executives from 8 sectors responding, an overwhelming 85% have expressed positive sentiment. Let me repeat the number. Yes, 85% have expressed positive sentiment towards GST in 2025, and this is a sharp rise from 59% in 2022 and 72% in 2023. This growing confidence points to a compliance maturity, trust in the system, and alignment with the GST framework. Joining me today are the stellar panel to decode the findings of the road ahead is Mahesh Jaisingh, partner, indirect tax leader, Deloitte India; Mr. D.P. Nagendra Kumar, former CBIC member and senior advisor, Deloitte India; also Saurabh Mittal, direct tax customs, Schneider Electric; and Sanjeev Agarwal, head of tax and customs, BMW Group India. A warm welcome to all of you. But let me start with you, Mahesh. What is your interpretation of the rise in the positive sentiment from 59% in 2022 to 85% in 2025? What key factors do you believe have contributed to this shift, and how do you view the broader trend of GST?
Thank you, Ankur, and thank you for having me over and all of us. I think you called out good statistics, 85%, but it's also important to note that 29% of our participants are MSMEs, and even their sentiment is 82%. So in a way, this is a sentiment not only of the large companies or very large companies, it's of the MSMEs as well. I think, like you said, it was 59, it was 72, and about 80-ish last year, and 85. So we're seeing a steady growth. And in terms of the main question that you asked, what are the attributes? What are the participants really liked about from the government standpoint? Before I get there, the journey of GST is 8 years. It's a bronze anniversary. The first few years was the law settling in. Then there was a heavy lift on automation, and now is a phase on audits and tax assessments. In this backdrop, I think what the industry is welcomed and embraced from the survey, almost 62% have said that the compliance and automation from the government side has helped them. So initially people were a little tenacious, but I think it's actually helped businesses to know real-time credits of their, of what they paid their vendors. That's the number one part. Supply chain and pricing is the second most positive part, which is the framework of GST. And it's a we have a state and central system of taxation, but it doesn't matter where you buy the goods or services from, the credit flow is seamless. Companies continue to reap that benefit of being able to not look at GST as a cost. Third, which I think is the most important call out, though it's number 3, and it's almost 49% of the participants who have said that the responsiveness of the government in issuing circulars, clarifications, being open to hearing the challenges and addressing it rather than only looking at, disputes, I think that's come out and welcomed very well. So there are some positive suggestions and constructive suggestions as we proceed, but these are the 3 highlights of why I think the sentiment is positive, Ankur.
All right, I want to come to you, Sanjeev, and taking that forward from auto industry lens, how has the GST journey evolved for your sector per se over these 8 years?
All right. So, first of all, I would like to also congratulate the government for a successful completion of 8 years of GST. And this is a collaboration of the efforts from many stakeholders, including government and industry. The government has truly actually able to offer us a unified tax system in India. There has been a lot of good wins in the last few years, and some of them could be the taxation on SUV cars, the taxation of demo cars, And the most important thing is the unlocking of input tax credit, which has been a very big ask of the industry, and the government was kind to listen that. So the important thing is, as of now, that the government is interacting with the taxpayers. The government is listening to us, and if there is a reasonable proposal from the industry, uh, which actually makes sense, and it also stops the abuse of system, then government is implementing it, and that's a very big positive message that we have as of today. So yeah, the law is evolving. The law is evolving very nicely, but there are a lot of things which industry still has in place in their wish list. So I guess, and as the time passes, the government will also consider those things, and the industry will get benefit of that. Yeah.
All right. But moving on, Mr. Saurabh, I want to come to you, as the survey finds that nearly 50% of the energy sector respondents appreciated GST clarification. How has the energy sector's experience been over these 8 years?
Thank you for this question. I should say it's a long journey. When this journey was started, it started with a lot of anxiety, but over the last 8 years, I would say that it's a enriching, it's a learning journey. GST as a law has evolved in last 8 years, and I would say the industry has also matured in these 8 years to adapt and adopt this law. In fact, I was going through the survey and I noted that most of the industry colleagues have kind of narrated the same positive sentiment on the GST, which even I carry. Sanjeev just mentioned from a auto sector perspective, but I would say the sentiments are same across all the industry, whether it's automotive or energy automation management sector, to which I belong to. GST has brought in a lot of positive things. It has brought in the clarity on various multi-fold taxations that we used to have in the pre-GST era. It had bring standardization. It has bring the supply chain optimization. It has brought in the simplification in business processes and compliances. It helped business to achieve price competitiveness by reducing the multi-layer taxation. And I think we can count of multiple more things, but I would say there are a lot of positive things that this journey has brought in. We can also see the government efforts to bring more and more clarity around various teething industry issues by bringing more and more clarifications around it, which is a welcome move and definitely support in creating a more positive intent amongst the industry. Their efforts in kind of supporting the business in working capital management by either enhancing the period of refunds processing, by streamlining the rules therein. All of them are a very positive move and creates that positive sentiment. So all in all, I would say the journey has been good, but I still believe that there are a couple of areas where we need to have more deliberation and improvement to make the industry more comfortable around implementation of GST.
All right, sticking to that, questions of more reforms, more implementations, I want to come to you, Mr. D.P. Nagendra Kumar. Over the past 8 years, GST framework has evolved significantly. What have been the industry's major demands and how responsive has been GST Council in addressing them? What worked well in terms of policy intervention according to you?
Thank you, Mr. Trankur, for having me in your panel. I think 48% of the respondents in the survey have responded to the fact that the government is listening and also, I think, taking measures to ease the compliance. In fact, the year 2024-25 has been a blockbuster year in terms of issue of number of instructions and clarifications, which has really helped the industry in meeting the compliance far better. Starting with the issue of instructions on streamlining of the investigations by the enforcement agencies and clarificatory circulars issued on related party transactions, and some of those export related issues relating to data hosting, advertisement intermediary and voucher taxation. The list is a long one. The government has come out with very, very clear guidelines and clarifications on matters in which there was issues during audit and assessment at the field formation level. The continued policy engagement has helped the industry to bring forth the problems, and the GST Council has been more than willing to look into and give a comprehensive solution to that wherever it is possible. The work is still in progress. A number of issues are still before the GST Council.
Understood and point well spoken. Mr. Mahesh, I want to come back to you again. Nearly 99% respondents said that IT systems are ready for audits and notices that is indicating a kind of maturity. As we look ahead and we are wondering how GST 2.0 will be there, what government should focus on to take this transformation further and unlock sector-wide investment per se?
Yeah, thank you. I think there are two set of recommendations from the survey. One are on the policy front, other are operational, and operational in GST is equally important, so it's and therefore I would put equal weightage. But let me start with the policy front. 8 years into GST, record collection, steady growth. In all of that, I think we are well poised for a GST 2.0 bold reforms. Now, what are those bold reforms that the participants have asked, not me? 34% have asked for working capital relief. Then the next in that pecking order is on the export clarity, and the third would be ITC credit restriction removal. Let me spend just a little bit time on each one. Working capital credit, I think challenges are there, particularly in MSME and mid-sized companies as well, where you have the GST credit. You're not able to use it, maybe because you're in an inverted structure, maybe because you're yet to make meaningful profits, or you're into an expansion mode and capex heavy. The reasons could be many, but the current GST, the framework of the law allows me a refund only if I'm an export, or if there's an inverted duty, there you get refunds only of the input. So while I won't get into the technicals there, from industry, the ask is to think a little bit beyond the current framework, allow a refund back of my GST credit after all audits and checks and balances. This was a regulation prior to GST in the state VAT laws, and therefore it can be well grandfathered back and implemented. There are other aspects within the working capital recommendations, but I won't. I think and there could be some baby steps in stage 1 and then something more in stage 2. Second, export clarifications. Like Mr. Kumar said, 2024 was a blockbuster year. I think the reasons are many in terms of what were announced, but there were certain clarifications on certain sectors, on clarity on export status for data hosting, for advertising. About 3-4 years ago, there was a clarification on a topic called intermediary, which a lot of the technical folks will know what I'm talking about. But I think there's still a room for more rationalization of the export, liberalization of the export regulations. So if you're billing an overseas entity for services, ideally the law should allow, if it's a B2B supply, look no further, it should be zero rated. Today there are 2-3 provisions which may have a limited remit on what it should be applied, but it gets applied very expansively, and therefore the respondents believe time is ripe to liberalize it. Third is ITC credit restrictions. So today, when the law started, certain provisions of the CENVAT regulations, the earlier central rules, was put into the law, and there are restrictions whether on the construction side, employee-related, cab expense and whatnot. I think given the steady flow of revenue growth, and to ensure a seamless credit scheme, the ask from industry is, isn't it time ripe to remove these restrictions? Because these restrictions do 2 things. 1, it impacts the cost of doing business. But 2, it also creates room for interpretation and disputes. So I think that's really what industry is asking from a policy standpoint. Let me speed run through operational areas. 3 things. I think I talked about a lot of aspects which are interpretative in nature. Today, there is a robust legal framework for dispute resolution. The government and the GST Council has been trying hard to launch the tribunals. The industry hopes that that happens soon. There are, legal angles to that, and it's not that there's no desire. We notice the steps being taken. I think the ducks are all in line, and now industry hopes that happens. Second, like Mr. Kumar said, given that it's 8 years and you have audits and the statute of limitation, as we call it, just more streamlining of operationalization of standard operating procedures for companies having multi-state operations to be able to be ready for the audits is the second ask. And last but not least, on the registrations, which companies want to register, pay the tax. Yes, there is a very robust system to get it done, but we are seeing some room for standardization of how an application can be made.
All right, point taken. I want to come to you, Mr. Saurabh. The survey also notes that 59% appreciate supply chain optimization, but there is also a call to liberalize export rules from the energy sector's point of view. What are the top GST 2.0 priorities that could further aid growth and compliance?
Thank you. I think Mahesh has spoken a lot about all the asks from the industry, and I think when he made his comment, it's not only from one industry per se, but it covers almost all the sectors. And I would say, from my point of view, the asks are not very different vis-a-vis what he has already narrated. So I would look forward to have some measures, as I said earlier as well, which can definitely improve the ease of doing business for India, for the companies, as well as, I think that will really help the country to become a global investment destination. You just mentioned about liberalization of export rules, and I do say that, yes, one of the asks that I see from my point of view is liberalization of export rules, especially for the global capability centers as well as the research hubs. I think the government should bring out more clarity around the process rules, work with the industry on the new business models, and I do believe that will really help India to become a global capability center and a research hub, and I think that's something which we can look for, which definitely improve the India's stand in the global market as well. That is one. Besides that, as Mahesh said, we can look for reforms from a operational perspective as well as from a policy perspective. I'm not going to talk more, but I think just for the sake of reiteration, from an industry standpoint, we are definitely looking for a more robust dispute resolution mechanism, more uniformity in the tax positions, and while the government has done a lot in the recent past in bringing clarifications on key issues, I think there are yet many more issues which are in pipeline and on which the government should come out with more clarity. Working capital, supporting the company or industry in a working capital management, while the refunds have been processed much faster, but I think there's still something that can be done to support the industry from a working capital management, like allowing for a cross utilization of the credit, or kind of refund of the accumulated credit at the end of the year, or allowing the industry to pay the liability under reverse charge mechanism directly from the credit and not paying it through cash. I think these could be some of the points which can be considered to support the industry, to support the sector.
All right, shifting focus to auto sector as well, and Sanjeev, therefore, similar question to you. The survey highlights several progressive reforms from reduced pre-deposit rates to faster refunds. What further steps could the GST regime take to support auto sector and make it future-proof?
Yeah, I think it's a very pertinent question, and the automobile sector has also got its benefit from the various reforms and standardization that has happened over the years in GST. Auto sector is one of the biggest sector which offers substantial contribution in the GST kitty, and also largest employment for our folks in India. So the point here is that the speed of growth of this sector can be further propelled by taking some of the initiatives. Some of them could be our litigation management. We know that the tax tribunal, the GST tribunal, is now formed, and it's a really commendable job of the government that they have come up with the rules and regulations for setting it up. I hope very soon we should start seeing action on it. The point here is that over the last 8 years, there has been already so much of accumulation of GST topics, and they are running into various courts or waiting for the adjudication to happen. Now we have to see how fast this can be resolved, and what could be the strategy of the government to deal with this backlog. So that's one. And the second one, which my other co-panelists also mentioned, that there should be standardization of some audit procedures. There should be some time-bound closure things, which actually gives the certainty to the taxpayer that, look, this is how I am audited, and my tax positions are now good to go for the subsequent years. If any adjustment is to be done, the taxpayer does those adjustments now rather than waiting for future. So that's second. And the next one could be some reformative work still on the certain restrictions on the ITC side, where we see some are very critical for the businesses, like ITC on the works contracts or ITC on the motor vehicles, which are the largest blockage of ITC as of now. So these are the things. And then in the end, I would also like to mention that the compensation cess that has been levied, and I think it has outlived its life of initial 5 years. Now it is almost 8 years is going to be finished. The important ask from the industry is that there should be certainty given to this topic, because we need to know how, in what form and shape the taxation will work in the coming years. And by no mean of imagination, the industry is expecting that this cost of compensation cess goes up in future, because we are already passing through the tough times. So I think this is important to get that clarity on this topic.
Mr. D.P. Nagendra Kumar, MSMEs are the backbone of India's growth, and 82% of them have expressed positive sentiments towards GST, especially on streamlined compliance. With recent policy steps, how do you see this optimism being reinforced in the ground?
Yes, Ankur, I think the MSME sector has been a backbone of the Indian economy in terms of not only its contribution to the GDP, but also providing entrepreneurial activity in a distributed manner. The quarterly return monthly payment scheme introduced about 4 years back has been well received by the MSME in terms of reduced compliance in filing frequency of the returns. The invoices issued by those quarterly return filers, the credit can flow in the immediate succeeding month to the recipient, who could be a small taxpayer. It could be a large enterprises. Now the ask of the MSME sector is that they also receive the inputs on which they pay the tax. Today, because they are filing frequency at quarterly level, they have to wait for 3 months to actually use the credit for defraying their tax liability. The ask of the MSME sector is that, like what they can pass on the credit to their recipient of supply, they should also be permitted to use the credit for the monthly payment immediately on receipt of the invoice and the goods and service. The government may look into this request, as it will really help ease of the working capital among the MSME sectors. The facilities extended in terms of, I think, credit matching, and also some of the streamlined processes like sequential filing are already helping the MSME sector. In addition, the GST law also provides that the recipient has to reverse the credit if he has not paid the consideration within 180 days. It's also in a way indirectly helping the MSME sector in realizing their receivables. Overall, I think the MSME sector continues to feel the benefit of GST, not only in terms of formalization, but also ensuring that they are integrated in terms of the input tax credit mechanism as well.
All right, with this, we are completely out of time in this special show. Thank you to each one of you for this insightful discussion. The Deloitte GST at 8 survey clearly signals a maturing ecosystem and growing alignment between government and industry. As India gears up for GST 2.0, the path lies towards deeper reforms, clarity, simplification, and continued collaboration. It is indeed a moment where we are rising with India. Thank you all for being part of this ET Now special.